We've always had room in our hearts for film and TV, not just on Netflix, but tape and disc and theaters. And also, God forbid that they take it all away and leave us nothing to broadcast to loyal listeners. We'll binge watch every single movie, so you don't have to. What else are we here for? Coming to you every week. Listen to us while you're busy. Luckily, we forgot to grow up. Hey everybody, it's Craig.
Hey, it's Scott.
Hey, it's Andrew.
Welcome to episode number 87 of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast. I didn't think I wrote that down and blanked as soon as I started talking. I was like, what episode are we on? It's 87. We're on 87. This week's episode, we're going to talk about biopics. Maybe they'll make a biopic about us.
Who would play you, Craig?
Well, I'd have to play myself, much
That's
like
fair.
the 1517 to Paris.
Are you kidding me? Like, Anders Holmes would 100% play you, Craig.
That's fair. That's actually probably a really good cast bit there. I think you got on the nose. But who'd play the rest of us? The
Well,
other two.
Are we just pulling people from now, or can it be like people from now, but also years ago? Because Kevin James would definitely play me.
That's fair. Scott.
But
Scott.
like King of Queens, Kevin James.
I don't feel comfortable answering this question for myself because
All right,
we go
Andrew.
into weird territory of me being a little too arrogant.
Okay, well,
Andrew,
guess.
you cast him.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to hear like one person Scott might think could play him.
Yeah. We
Well-
won't judge you, I promise.
Well, if you
only
say
reason-
Henry Cavill, I'm gonna fucking
No,
drown you
no,
in a tub full of milk.
No, that's what I like dream of being, like that, and like, you know, Chris Hemsworth. Those are men I aspire to be, but I don't have the bone structure for that. The only one I could think of is just somebody who I've been compared to before, which would be Johnny Depp. But that seems like a little too big name to play little old me. But that's the
I
only
don't know.
thing I
If
got.
you shaved, maybe Robert Pattinson. He's a skinny fuck.
That's a fair one, I guess. Find that a slight compliment as well, so that helps my ego.
See that one?
playing
I see
Batman.
that a little more than I see Johnny Depp.
That's fair. Like I said, I was going off that just 'cause that's the only
Who
one
the
that
fuck
like,
told you
stuck
you
out.
look like Johnny
I don't remember.
Depp?
Whoever
I don't
they
remember.
are, they're
It just
not
happened.
your friend.
Those
That's
lying
fair.
motherfuckers. It was Haley, wasn't it? I bet you it was Haley.
Could not tell you. It was so long ago. People generally don't tell me that often. I don't know. Anywho, now that we've cast our biopic, that'll probably never be made.
Sounds a little more interesting than some of them.
It's I'll give you that. Ours would have some interesting little stories in there compared to certain ones, but who wants to start off this list with their
I
list?
do not.
Fair. Craig, I feel like mine and your list are going to be similar since we were both researching this before the podcast using
Reading the same page.
the same IMDb list. So,
So I didn't make a list so much as I wrote down some points regarding biopics. Before looking at this page, I would have thought a biopic was very explicit in that it was very clearly defined that this was a movie about this person and not
That's
about
fair.
something to do with this person. Then I read through the biopics list and realized that it's about I don't know. It's maybe
it's a
an
pretty
even
broad term.
Maybe it's an even split between movies that are like titled like Nixon and Amadeus, where it's like, yes, I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
Because that's a movie called Gandhi. I bet you I can tell you what it's about.
Yeah.
What about The
exactly.
Doors?
Yeah, no, that goes with this.
These are all things that you can, like, that's clearly a biographical film. And then you've got other films like Imitation Game, which I can see being a biopic since it does follow Alan Turing a lot more.
See,
but Moneyball,
I never would have
not
put that one on a biopic level. I would have been like, oh, this is just a historical film.
That's what I thought too. That's why they're on my list here. Same thing with Moneyball. I wouldn't classify. I wouldn't even actually put it on the list. This
Neither would I.
Whoever made this list made
Is
it
Brad
their own
Pitt
criteria.
character supposed to be the main, like the?
That's the idea, but the problem is that the book that the whole thing's based on is 100% about what he did and less about him. the whole point in having the biography of Billy Bean intertwined in Moneyball is that you learn the reasoning on top of it, but you have to see it from the right frame. So you can see why Billy Bean took the Oakland Athletics and turned them upside down. Because he grew up and everybody was telling him, you're going to be the best, you're amazing, and then he flamed out in the majors. So his whole point was, we're not going to pick based on the way that I was picked and based on the way that they've been picking for years. We're going to find the guys that are actually going to do well, and none of this build up your expectations and have them flame out by the time you get anywhere near professionalism. But yeah, that's why that one's on the list, because I wouldn't consider it a biopic at all.
Yeah,
Mostly
I
because
feel
it's more about the thing.
and like the event in a sense that happened, which is
Yes.
him turning around the
The team.
A's.
Yep, the A's. You got it.
Okay. I just
And then
wasn't
the other one I have on my list that I wrote down of films that I guess didn't realize was a biopic was Catch Me If You Can. I knew it was a true story, but it's again one of those things where it's like you think about it as the concept and not about
The people.
not as a biography.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I had that written down too because I love that movie.
Yeah, me too.
But I always
That's-
thought of it kind of as like an altered telling, like I assumed there was a guy similar to him, but I didn't think it was an exact like straight out of his book that he had written kind of thing. And like obviously there's probably some exaggerations from Hollywood, but still, I don't even know the guy's name, which I feel is a crucial part to a biopic, is I should know who this is.
when you walk away from it, you should be able to say that's the guy.
Yeah.
And there should not be as much ambiguity. Same thing with Goodfellas. Never realized that was considered a biographical film.
I thought those were fictional characters.
Apparently, so to be honest with you, so did I.
Yeah, I can't remember if I've ever seen it. If I have, it was when I was younger. It's one of those movies that I'm like, oh yeah, it's a classic. I should get back to watching that I never managed to put on. But yeah, I would have that, and for me it was Remember the Titans. I was like, oh, I assumed that was kind of maybe a, that there was an actual team that this was kind of based off of, but the whole the story itself I thought was kind of fictionalized with it, because I don't believe I don't know if those schools are real or not, the schools that play, if the Titans are an actual team or not. So, but according to IMDb, it's a biopic. So,
Same thing with The Social Network. I would not have called that a Mark Zuckerberg biography so much as a Facebook biography.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these are just stretches. They're just well, let's do something original.
It looks like it's part of their life, so let's call it that. Now, then you get things like Capote and Lincoln and Notorious and The Elephant Man, and these are all Chaplin. These are all movies that are very clearly about
a certain
a
person.
specific person, JFK. Even The Wolf of Wall Street, I'd say. I would classify that one as a biography as well. Although it's not framed like a typical biography.
Yeah, that one, the way it's filmed, it just makes it feel a little bit more not
like it's
so
about
real.
the story.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
following the same character the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know that it's based on a true story.
Yeah, if you didn't tell, if I didn't know that it was, I would have, I would have assumed it was just a Hollywood creation, because it's okay, yeah, I could see that being a good story that somebody would come up with. But I also 100% believe, or the fact that it's real, why I believe it, but I can also believe that somebody would do that in real life.
Yeah, I feel like movies that are about someone older than I'm going to say 95 to 100 years. If it's about anything before that point, I don't consider it a biopic. I just consider it a historical film.
That's
The
fair.
Other Boleyn Girl or things like that. It may be about it may be a biographical story about a certain thing, but I also just consider it a historical film because it's more history than it is, to me anyways. It's more
I guess
history.
It depends on how it's framed, right? You wouldn't call Lincoln a historical. Well, you would call Lincoln a historical film.
Oh, I would
Well,
absolutely call that a
they
historical
cross over.
film.
It's
But you
a
wouldn't-
big Venn diagram.
Yeah,
I
you
imagine,
wouldn't
with
pull
those
it
two
out
categories.
of the. You wouldn't pull it out of the out of the biography scheme.
I feel like my definition of biography is more so, like, can I verify these things? Am I able to, not that I would ever do it, but am I able to contact this person and double check the work on shit? Whereas if I can't, I'm just like, nah, that's history.
See, and I think that's where like Spartacus kind of falls for me too. It's like that one I never would have classified as like I wasn't sure if there's a real person named Spartacus, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just not something
I
I'd
am
ever looked up.
Spartacus.
Well, there's a lot less documentation on something like that.
Exactly. So it's like, was he an actual person or was it, a Hercules type character? Like it's a flip of the coin in a sense.
But when you have modern history, it's a little harder to put lump the two of them together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you could put Spartacus and Lincoln in the same boat just because they're both over 100 years old. There's a lot more verifiable.
No, definitely. That's a whole other topic.
Based on a lot more facts that we accept as facts, based around something that's happened in the last 400 or 500 years than 1,000 plus.
Definitely.
Just like I wouldn't consider Passion of the Christ to be a documentary or a biography.
Yeah, I feel like that's an art film to me. Just like Noah.
That is fair.
They may come from something, but to me, it's just an art film.
It's loosely based on the source material.
Yeah. But Harry Potter, now that's a biopic.
Obviously, that happened in our lifetime.
With Lord of the Rings.
Don't you remember?
I do.
Well, see, a couple times, like, I was looking at the Wikipedia list, and a few of them I saw, I'm like, is that a movie about, like, a biopic about a fictional character? Does that count? Like, Goodfellas, I swear those were fictional characters, I thought, but apparently...
I think it's a loose...
Yeah, I think it's a story about, like, something that happened.
Yeah, but it's, like, the characters were...
Yeah.
For
the
lack
names
of a
were
better
made up?
term,
They
were made up.
Like Bad Blood, where it's like, this is all shit that happened. They all intermingled somehow. This is not exactly how it played out.
Most of Bad Blood is accurate. However, a lot of Bad Blood is not.
I still haven't watched that one.
You need to.
Get your head out of your ass, Scott.
I know, it's the Canadian one, right?
Yeah.
Season 1 was one of the best shows I've ever watched.
If the second season gets added to Netflix, then I'll watch
it.
It
is, motherfucker.
It happened.
Damn it. Damn it. It was a lie. I lied. I was lying to you guys.
Busted.
Oops. We called your bluff. Well, we didn't.
You
Netflix did, but Netflix did it a while ago. Like
Blast.
this week.
I definitely thought that would work. I got no other excuses for that. So I'm just going to say another biopic. I liked A Beautiful Mind. That was, again, one of those ones I didn't realize.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I didn't realize it was actually based on a true story. And then as I got older, I eventually learned a little more about it. I still don't know exactly who it's based off of, except for a dude who won the Nobel Prize. That's the extent of it. But, I'm terrible with names, so in my defense.
Yeah.
But one I do remember the name of the person who it's about is Walk the Line, and that's a close Johnny Cash.
I thought you were about to struggle with saying his name.
I almost said Johnny Depp for a second. It almost came out. No, it almost came out as Johnny Depp for a second, and then I called.
And we
myself.
all know that's about fuck. Who is it? Shit.
I almost said Johnny Depp, but no, Johnny Cash. I like Walk the Line. Again, that's actually what introduced me to Johnny Cash. Like, I had heard some of his music before, but I never, made the association, and because I was too young at that point, or before my interest in music had started. So that one I like that one because it introduced me in a sense to that kind of music and making a little bit more of a connection between artists and their music. As weird as that sounds, that took a while for me to get to that, but whatever. What else do you guys have on your list? Because we've talked about most of the other ones on mine.
I have Ray on my list, but for one reason and one reason only. I could have done without the whole brother dying thing.
So could Ray Charles.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Neither did I. It's a John Mulaney.
John Mulaney joke.
Okay.
But Ray, I will take over from here because Ray is on my list as well.
There you go.
That is one of the best biopics, for my opinion, anyways, ever made. they go real deep on the dark side of Ray Charles. Whereas a lot of biopics, such as Bohemian Rhapsody, you know, they dabble in the negative, but then they just thrust upon you all this miraculous shit that almost seems too good to be true.
Yeah, like all the members of Queen never drank beer or something like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie. I just that was one of the comments I remember hearing.
Like they go out of their way to like kind of upsell it, like, oh no, these guys were just like they weren't super lucky and they had to slave away, and whereas in Queen's case they were one of those bands where it was like, no, they're fucking great, let's make this happen. No one really sat down and argued about it. It was just, yeah, this could be the next big thing, let's fucking get it out there. Whereas with Ray Charles, like you see him struggling at the beginning, coming out as being a blind guy playing piano, trying to get his start. People trying to take advantage of him. You know, the woman he's living with is taking advantage of him. The band leader's taking advantage of him. His agent is, like, everyone's just like, oh, you can't see, we're going to pay him in ones instead of fives. And shit like that. And then it progresses from there to, oh, he's got his band. He's doing well. But, oh, shit, some of his band members are on heroin. And then they show his downward spiral through that, was it the Magic Dragon or whatever the fuck it's called?
I think so, something like that.
Whatever it is, anyways, chasing the dragon. You see him.
Dragon, that sounds more.
That's what it is.
That is.
I was thinking of Puff the Magic Dragon. I think that was my.
When you
my
said
first
the first one, I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about right now. And then you said chasing the dragon, and I was like, drugs. Okay.
Yeah, there you go, drugs, heroin.
Back into context.
Yeah, so they start with they introduce you fairly early in the movie, like a third of the way through. They're like, oh yeah, now he's got this heroin addiction, and they show him how he's got it under control, and then how he gets the shakes. And then how he has to take it just to like get himself back up to normal. And then you see the affair with the girl who ends up having one of his kids. And like they show you so much negative while also progressing his story. And you're like, wow, how the fuck did Ray Charles not die? And then you find out like the woman he had an affair with, who like became her own professional singer, like she ended up dying. I don't know if it was an overdose or what, but she died, and then her kid was just out there, and you're like, oh my god. And then they just fucking end the movie. They end it, they're like, oh yeah, Ray Charles got his shit together. Be happy. And you're like, oh damn. Which I really like that aspect of it, where it was like negative.
Yeah, no, it's good. Just like it makes it feel a little more real too. Like obviously, he wouldn't add bad things into his story to, you know,
just cause
it's, you know. So
well,
yeah,
there's one aspect of it which I really like is like, well, I don't like it. It was not great, and that's what Craig touched base on, the little brother dying thing. Okay, so it happens where the kid, like when they're kids, they're playing, and his little brother slips and ends up inside like the wash basin, and he drowns. He can't get out, and he drowns. So like when he gets these anxiety attacks or like these panic attacks, it seems to be worse when he's on the heroin, and his mind isn't like totally there. He'll start to like feel water places or like hear the slopping of water, and like he's triggered. Oh, so like he feels like he's surrounded by water, and like he's gonna like trip and go down. He's like, oh my god, is my brother there? What can I do? And it's a real interesting twist, because like it's almost like they're trying to be like, yep, he had lifetime PTSD, but also maybe not, who knows, because he's also dead and we can't ask him. So it's a real interesting point that they try to get across. Like some of these people, they're not these miraculous heroes that we make them out to be. They are just as fucked up as the rest of us, and we put them on this pedestal. And that's like the big message I got from Ray. Whereas I look at Bohemian Rhapsody and they're like, yeah, get AIDS, it's dope. That I don't think that's the message that they were trying to give out, but they're kind of like, oh yeah, life is perfect. I ain't about that shit. Life is dark. Definitely. Try living with allergies.
We already discussed that.
But yeah, Ray's pretty sweet. Continue your list, Craig.
That's it. That's all I got. Ray was the last one. I was leading into the joke. That was the whole
damn.
point.
Okay. Well, I guess I got to carry the rest of this.
You
Keep
really
going,
do.
man.
Okay, so all of mine are like legitimately under my definition. They are biopics. I got Jersey Boys up here, which is funny because you guys didn't get to hear, but we got to have a conversation prior to the podcast that Scott didn't know who the Jersey Boys were,
Still don't.
And so I said, "Oh no, they're the Four Seasons," and he thought I meant the hotel, which not how it happened.
In my defense, that's the only Four Seasons I know. That and like winter, fall.
You've never heard any of their songs.
Well, no, I don't.
Has.
I probably have. I can't
Late
tell you.
December back in '63. What a no.
Not ringing a bell at the moment.
I'm not even gonna try to hit the high notes of like Sherry. Oh, I hit it. Sherry baby.
That one I've heard.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
again,
the Four Seasons, brother.
I couldn't have connected that until you just told me that.
You fucking ragdoll. Anyways, this one covers the bottom to top story. That's a song by the Four Seasons.
Okay.
The bottom to top story of how Frankie Valli, this Italian hairdresser in Jersey, starts off and tries to get his break into fame with the group of guys he chummed around with, who they had their own trio, and then trios just weren't important, so they needed a fourth because quartets were the big thing. So they're like, okay, cool, let's do this. And like all his friends, I want to say Jimmy, but that's not right. I can't remember what the names were. I know Bob Gaudio, the one who wrote the music. But outside of that, I could not tell you what the other guys' names are. They're from New Jersey, and I assume Italian. But they try to like coach him and bring him through life. And then Christopher Walken shows up, and he's all like, hey, man, I'm a gangster. Just do what I say. And you're like, oh, shit, it's Christopher Walken. And then you do what he says. And then just like as it progresses, like you see the band start to fall apart because they got so big so fast. And then one of the guys, like the original leader of the group, you find out that he's been hiding money and he owes these guys, and then they're going to break his legs. So they're like, okay, cool, you got to move to Vegas so they can keep an eye on you and you can work off your debts. And the other guy, he's all like, fucking quit, man. My kids think I'm their uncle. So he quits. And then Frankie Valli's like, I sing, guys. So he keeps on singing. It's a really good story. One of those things where like it was hard work, but also just God-given talent.
And it's a real story too, right?
Yes, it is about the Four Seasons and Frankie Valli.
Okay, see, I always thought it was just a musical.
Nope, it's about something.
Well, was it a musical or movie first?
It was a musical first, but it was a real-life story first.
Well, no, I got that. I was curious after that point because I was trying to.
It started off as a Broadway musical, award-winning, I believe.
And that's my knowledge of it. Is I remember that like some in pop culture. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know that about Jersey Boys, but that was the extent of the knowledge.
Well, then they decide we're going to make a movie. So who other than to tap the best director in musical history? You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Western King, Clint Eastwood.
Oh, okay.
Of all people, we're going to tag Clint Eastwood to direct this musical.
That's interesting.
So he does, and it's fantastic. But then there's a little bit in there where they have Bob Gaudio, the guy who writes the songs and plays the keyboards. He's watching a movie before he loses his virginity, and it's a Clint Eastwood movie.
Of course.
And you're like, man, this guy just put his own movie in his own movie.
You mean like
This
George
is
Lucas?
Inception, yeah.
I would totally do that.
That would be like us making like a movie and putting like our podcast in the background, like someone's like listening to it.
Or watching our YouTube videos.
Yeah, watching one of Scott's YouTube videos on his phone, on the bus, on the way to record his own podcast. I don't know if Scott does that, but in this movie,
just spoil our upcoming YouTube original series.
in this movie, Robert Pattinson's on a bus watching Scott's music or Scott's videos on his phone on his way home from work, thinking this is good. I'm gonna go record the podcast. Kevin James is eating a whole pizza by himself. They didn't even cut it. He's eating it taco style. And then Anders Holmes is just like at home drinking tea, like a boss.
Trying to remember what he watched this week.
Yeah, pretty much. But next up, I got Notorious, which was mentioned prior, which I enjoyed. But another movie where they kind of dance over the negatives. Where they're kind of like, oh yeah, this guy got shot. He was involved in this. But also, let's just focus on this instead. Let's just stick with this story and forget, oh, no. That guy got shot and whatever. No, it's cool. Let's go back here.
More of the happy stuff.
Yeah, kind of like the opposite of Straight Outta Compton, where they're like, yeah, we got guns, we're taking them places. This guy's fucking everything, and he's about to get AIDS. They're just like the opposite. Notorious is just like, let's dance around this shit.
Alrighty. I have not seen either of those, so
Okay. Well, I only have one musical biopic left, and that's Great Balls of Fire. And that is, I can't remember his name. Son of a bitch. I know that Dennis Quaid plays him. Hold up. He's the one who's like, goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire.
He's got three names. It's
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis, that's who it was.
I was questioning myself, and then because I'm bad with names, but I thought I knew that one. Because was it?
Yeah, that one. And Winona Ryder, who is adorable back then, marries his like third cousin or something like that, and then which is legal, questionably, but legal. And then they're like, "Oh, we gotta stay inside. I'm gonna go play some music because I'm crazy." And I was like, "Cool. I'm 13. Why am I allowed to watch this weird shit?"
He was like Elvis,
eccentric,
and Johnny, I was gonna say during the Elvis and Johnny Cash
era,
right?
Yeah, that kind of like.
I thought so. Yeah, because I think he makes
that always carry a comb in your pocket era. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need to do that now.
I think you might need a brush.
Definitely.
So the remainder of my list is all either like political figures or like just other shit. Like I got The Blind Side on here. Just because I enjoyed that movie. Sandy B nails it. Forget the rest of the fucking story. Sandy B kills it.
Yeah.
And so does what's-her-face, Kathy Bates. She's pretty cool too. But outside of that, the story just did, it was twisted so much from the real story. Apparently, I read the book, so I was kind of like, oh, whatever. Sandy B's hot. I'm going to let this pass.
You read the book?
I did.
How is it?
It's interesting.
It's different, right?
It's a tough start.
That's
because it starts off talking about like him at was it Tulane? No, Ole Miss. It was Ole Miss he went to. Them like playing in a bowl game on Thanksgiving and how like he fucked up or something, and I was like, oh man, this is a tough start.
That's a Michael Lewis book for you. That guy writes books purposely, like just to be books, and then people come along and go, "This looks like a movie," and he goes, Did you read the thing? And they're like, no,
like, this sounds like a movie title.
This is a movie. And you know why it's like that? Because he wrote The Blind Side, he wrote Moneyball, and he wrote The Big Short.
This guy needs to stop just writing. Or write one more just to make enough money that he doesn't have to anymore.
And you know what, Scott? The book's even better.
Is it? Okay.
If you like The Big Short and you're thinking, I could use a little bit more detail.
Definitely, actually. That's one of the things I'm super interested in.
Read the book.
Because affected so much of my life.
That's what Michael Lewis is good at, is writing a story, but adding a bunch of other stuff into it. And you read the book, and you're like the first time I read Moneyball, I was expecting a story. I read through it and was like, how did they make a movie out of this? There's so much other stuff in here, and it bounces all over the place. And someone came along and said, Brad Pitt's good for this one. And the next one.
That's Hollywood for you.
It's funny that he's on there twice, though.
That's interesting.
2 books he wrote are on this biopic list.
I'm looking at a picture of Michael Lewis right now, and I feel like if they did a biopic about him, I think Nathan Fillion would do a great job in that role. But he also kind of looks like if Nathan Fillion got like face smushed with Dennis Leary, like Dennis Leary's hair, but with Nathan Fillion's like mouth.
Yes.
You'd have Michael Lewis. Or just put Michael Ian Black in there, because who doesn't love that guy?
You just have Michael Ian Black pay Michael Lewis?
Yep.
It'll be like...
2 mics.
It'll be like A Futile and Stupid Gesture, where they kind of maybe look like the person they're supposed to be trying to play, but really don't.
Also, like, you kind of hotted it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile is on my list as well. Not going to talk about that one.
Did not think of that as a biopic.
No.
Weirdly enough.
See, I did, because...
Same with, I technically you put A Futile and Stupid Gesture on there, too.
Yeah.
That is a biopic.
That is. I didn't think of that one, though. I thought of that more like a comedy, like a real dark comedy.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a thing about somebody's life.
That movie was a motherfucking twist and a half.
Yep.
Real life, though.
I made the point to not Google it ahead of time, so I wouldn't know if he was alive or not. Spoiler alert. He
Yeah,
dies at
I
the
made
end.
that mistake too, and you're like, what the fuck? I did
just
not
never-
see that coming.
Never occurred to me to look him up.
You foreshadowed it with an older version of him. Why would I assume that? And then, boom.
Especially since I don't know that actor's name.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh,
You
is that the
assume it's
guy? Is that the guy?
That's great.
Yeah, I
it
had no
worked
fucking
on,
clue.
It worked on me. I am fully
Yeah.
willing to say that.
That movie was very well done.
We're gonna have to check that out. That's a Netflix original, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And then they go
And
right through like the
everybody
Mad
is in it.
magazine and TV and stuff like that. Was it Mad?
No, it's National Lampoon.
That's what it was,
Yeah.
Lampoon.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, they go through
Everybody
that
is
and then
in
they
it.
get to like all the big SNL guys, your Chevy Chases and Dan Aykroyd's and stuff like that. And none of the actors playing those people look anything like them.
Nope.
Like they've got the guy who plays Jeff,
Yeah.
Joel McHale,
Yeah, I thought so. He
Chevy
was in there,
Chase.
yeah.
playing Chevy Chase. They look like they have a relationship, but they look nothing alike.
Yeah, not even like Chevy Chase back
No,
in his
not
heyday.
even like nothing. And they're just like, yeah, fuck it. We're just gonna get people who are recognizable in these roles. Let's do it.
That was. I think that was the point.
Yeah,
I
and
think
it
they
was great.
gathered up people who are already around the Netflix office because he's got a show with Netflix.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple.
Well,
others
I'm
that
pretty
have
sure Netflix
shows.
at this point is just like, hey, listen, I know you need money. Come do 5 things for us, and here's a couple mil. Because like,
Yeah, no, I would disagree. The only thing I'd say is maybe not Mill.
here's a couple grand.
Yeah,
Go buy some booze, John Malkovich.
I've heard that Netflix is pretty cheap with certain things like that, and so
Ali
which-
Wong, you want to come do 3 things this year with another comedy special coming next year? Come on, why not?
That's too much Ali Wong for me. Let me
Tell
be
me
the first
about
to
it.
Say it.
Next up on my list, because I don't want to be too negative.
We
I've been
didn't
real
derail
negative
that.
lately.
Yeah.
I got $1 Million Arm, which I only saw once at the drive-in with someone who vanished.
Ah. The story.
A story.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense. And I don't actually remember much of it other than being like, oh, John Hamm is hot. And then that person being like, eh. And me being like, do you want to walk home, bitch? Like,
What's the matter with you?
are you kidding me? Like, he's so handsome. Like, he's so classically
It's
handsome.
like an angel.
Yeah.
He is an angel in a new series. We'll talk
Didn't
about it
even-
during what I watch this week.
Wasn't he God or is he just an angel?
No, he's Gabriel.
Ooh, hot damn.
Yeah.
Now that you say $1 Million Arm, I didn't even think of 42 either.
Yeah.
As a
Well, Chadwick Boseman is actually in quite a few because he plays Jackie Robinson, does he not? Because
Right
I
about
don't
that?
think so.
no.
No, I feel bad. Oh, no,
I
no.
don't. I can't remember. Just a second.
I know that he plays. What's his name?
It is Chadwick Boseman. You're right.
Yeah,
It's been so long since I watched it, I couldn't remember. Harrison Ford's in that film too.
yeah.
Apparently, I need to watch this again. Alan
Yeah,
so
Tudyk
do
in
I.
it. Christopher Maloney's. Well, I knew Christopher Maloney was in it.
He's also in. Oh, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Marshall.
We Are Marshall? No,
Get
he
On Up?
plays.
I'm just looking at Chadwick Boseman movies. Get
It's
On
gonna
Up looks
bug
like
me.
it's one that's going to be a film.
No.
Yep, Get On Up's a musical one. Musical biopic.
I'm pretty sure he plays James Brown.
Yeah, I think that's Get On. That's Get On Up.
That
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
Get On Up to me.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at right now. Yeah. Did that?
And he
in
also plays some
2014.
super smart god in Gods of Egypt. Was an incredible movie. That's not a biopic, I hope. Because if it turned out that the Gods of Egypt were just giant Power Rangers, that'd be fucking sick.
I
He
want
was
that to
in,
be real.
Yeah. I feel like that's a new religion. So I got 2
drafted?
things left on my list. Do you want A or B?
I don't
B?
know.
B. Okay, so we got American Gangster, which interestingly enough, it's about Frank Lucas, played by Denzel Washington, who starts off as like the left-hand man for, I forget his name, some big time.
Man?
Yeah, left-hand man, because I'm left-handed.
All right.
Oh,
We are
okay.
better than the right-handed people.
Anyway,
We have to suffer. Have you ever written with
12% of the
with a
population.
pencil and ended up black-handed? No, you haven't.
continue.
See, that just sounds like a disadvantage to me, not a superior trait.
No, that's why we're better than you, because we've been through the mud. We have evolved past it.
I used
We
to.
know
write-
we know how to suffer. Anyway,
Well,
so
no,
American
evolving is about
gangster
getting
Frank
past
Lucas.
it.
He starts at the bottom. He's a right-hand man for some guy, and then he's like, that guy dies. So then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna run this shit. I'm gonna become a fucking American gangster. And he builds up this intense organization. I mean, it already existed, but he takes it to another level. Starts selling heroin. The Devil's Hooch. I actually don't know what that is, but it sounded cool. I'm pretty sure it's something else. But starts selling heroin, but he gets it directly from Vietnam. And then he starts selling that shit. And then he makes tons of money. And then, I want to say it's Kurt Russell. No, not Kurt Russell. It's Russell Crowe. He comes in and he's like, I fuck everything. I'm getting divorced. By the way, you're going down. And then he takes him down. But the Frank Lucas, the actual guy, he actually just died a few days ago.
Oh shit, that's
Yeah.
timely.
Hopefully he didn't die just because we were going to do biopics this week on the podcast. And he's like, well, this will
Did
give him
not want
something to
hear
talk
what we have
about.
to say.
No. But I just thought that was a little ironic that we're talking biopics and the guy dies like the week we're doing it. The last one I have on my list is Vice.
Oh yeah, that's
You
new.
watched
Cheney
that
one.
recently, yeah.
I did. That's
from
why it was
last
on
year.
fresh in my mind. Because if it had been like 6 months from now, I would have been like, oh fuck, Vice was there.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one, but I remember you talking about it a couple times. 'cause
It's
we
a
also
great
talked
movie.
about it during Oscar episode. I
Yeah.
remember you being a big advocate for it.
It was a really good movie. Very well done. Brought a lot of the corruption of politics in general in the United States to the forefront. Not necessarily specific people, just the fact that it's a very corruptible system.
Just kind of shines a light on that.
Yeah. But that's it. That's my list. List of ones that I watched, I liked, I remember, or disliked, and just happened to be there at the drive-in. Drinking Sunny D.
Ugh.
It was cheap, dude. It was like 88 cents. I don't know if that was the price, but it was
wasn't
cheap.
hating, 'cause
Might-
me and you have done that on
It was
multiple
it was
occasions.
cheap.
Some vegetable oil, some water, and some orange Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Mix it
Sugar water
together.
purple.
Anyway,
Anyways, what did you guys watch this week? Because my list is hella short.
Mine's pretty short as well.
damn.
I promise you it's not shorter than mine.
Well, we'll see. Should I go first then?
Go nuts.
Would you guys like to hear about the show where John Hamm plays an angel?
Yes, please.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That's
Tell me
Good
about
Omens.
Good
John Hamm
Omens.
is an angel,
He is an angel.
He is. I feel like that guy gives lots of money to charity.
and in
If
the
he
show,
doesn't, he needs to start.
But yeah, I watched Good Omens. It's 6 episodes. It's a mini series based on the book, and they do the whole thing in the 6 episodes, which is, I don't want to say new, because there's plenty of mini series, but it's new for me, because I'm used to most shows giving us a season, and then you're like, is it going to get a second season? So I like that they condensed, like they didn't try to stretch it. They didn't add in other like elements. This is a straight adaptation. Neil Gaiman is the one who worked on it. It's
That's
so
the American
good.
God guy, isn't it?
Yep, and he's the author of, well, the him and another guy.
Well, the other guy, he's dead, is he not?
Yes, the
R.I.P.
Terry something. Yeah, but yeah, he had passed away before. I'm not sure when, but before this was made, and so Neil Gaiman, though, they had co-written it together, and so he worked very heavily on this adaptation, which is his second one with Amazon after American Gods, and I really enjoyed it. I've read about 60% of the book, and from what I've read and having watched the show, it is just identical. So it's like, it is like even some of the lines they say are word for word straight out of the book. And so I really enjoyed that, because normally you get a close adaptation, but never like such a accurate one. So it was really great. I like the dynamic between the two main characters, the angel and the demon, played by David Tennant and Michael Shane. Yes.
The guy who plays the robot in Passengers.
I haven't seen Passengers, but yes, sure. But yeah, they were great. Then we have John Hamm, of course, who played Gabriel. So he's the boss of the angel guy. And he's like the kind of dickhead boss is the way he plays this Gabriel character. And he's great as it. He's just awesome. He's just trying to he just wants the apocalypse to start already so that so they can go to war with hell already. And so, yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It's great. I think you both will really enjoy it too. And it's pretty short. Like I said, 6 episodes, hour each. And it's just wacky fun. It's really great. Yeah, so I watched Good Omens. I binge watched that whole thing. Like I said, 6 episodes. I saw the new Godzilla movie this weekend.
How is it? Give me a straight out of 10 rating, man. Am I gonna like it? Because everything I hear is people being like, "Oh, there's too much monsters, not enough people," and I don't give 2 flying bucks.
And see, my complaint's the opposite, which was there was plenty of monsters, and I was bored by the people stuff. The people stuff is the stuff I didn't like.
Cool.
It was too cliche.
Cool.
But there was a great amount of monster stuff.
Because I'm going to see a Godzilla movie, a movie about monsters.
And we get a lot of monsters. You get many monsters in this one. And so I enjoyed that. The monster fights were pretty good. There was a couple times where I was like, oh, we don't need to flash back to the humans during this. I'd rather just watch this fight. But
yeah,
that's a partial editing thing. And
I think that's kind of why I liked the 2000 or the 99 Godzilla one.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was like all of the human stuff didn't really matter. It was just, let's follow them following this thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a massive fight or anything. It was just these humans are going along with the ride for this.
Yeah.
I don't need to see emotional tie-ins and like history and
exactly.
these guys know these guys because of this and I don't give 2 shits about that. It's a movie about fucking monsters.
Exactly. And
I don't want to see a Power Rangers movie based off of the guy who's sitting in the office building watching the Megazord fight the other thing. I don't give 2 shits about that. Show me the fight.
Yeah, and you're not far off with that, because there's a lot of time spent in like with the people. I mean, they're all in boardrooms or labs or stuff like that the whole time, and yeah, and like they use this whole thing again with humans are the disease, so the bad guy wants to wipe out humanity, and that's what kickstarts this fight.
Yeah, because that guy goes and releases, was it King Geroda or whatever the fuck his name is?
Garoda? I've heard it so many ways. I don't know how to say
the thing that's like Hydra just with wings, right?
The three-headed dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they released that one and a couple others, and yeah, to like get it rolling, and that's their plan, is to like that they'll reset the natural order, and then we get Godzilla fights. And so like I said, that motivation from the humans is just kind of lame, and like we've seen it so many times. Like it was Venom, it was so many other ones.
I also heard that Mothra had like an emotional connection with like that kid, so like they could kind of like talk to it or control it or something like that. Is that true?
I don't want to spoil that. The kid doesn't play as much a role as people as it seemed in the trailer. That's all.
Okay,
I'll say.
Good.
Like it's like I'll agree. And from the trailer, it looked like maybe she's like telepathic with something, but I think people are projecting her character from Stranger Things, who is telepathic, into her character into this. I think that's just all that happens.
Kind of like partial typecasting, then, eh?
Well, I think people just assumed that Hollywood had typecast her, and it's like, well, no, she's just a teenage. Actress.
She's a teenager, yeah.
And she's very popular now because Stranger Things is popular. So it's like, and she did a great job in the role. Like I said, I got a similar impression from some of the marketing, but the movie doesn't go that route at all, really. So she's fascinated by them. That's all. Who wouldn't be? Except for sane people who should be scared by Godzilla because he's ginormous. He'll crush you. But yeah, I watched that. I only wrote down one of the YouTube things I watched, but it was another Hot Ones episode, and this one had the Jonas Brothers on it. And
Hot Ones episode?
Yep, the newest one
new?
It was their it's their new season. First episode of the new season just kicked off, and it was the 3 Jonas Brothers. I feel bad for the one that no one knows the name of, because they pick on him so
What
much
is it?
during this one.
Kevin,
I think so.
Joe,
Maybe.
I know.
Well, Joe's the one
two.
we know.
yeah,
I know those.
and
two.
Nick.
It's
So it's
Kev-
got to be Kevin,
Wow,
right?
I know all.
No,
The,
it's Kevin.
the curly-headed fuck.
Yeah, Kevin's the one that nobody.
The first
knows
one
or
I
likes.
say. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that I knew all three.
Yeah.
See, he got it.
I
yeah.
struggled with Nick.
Well,
like
see,
the
Nick's the one I know.
the
Nick, I know
arguably most
100%.
famous one.
And then Joe, I'm like, that's the one I was 50% sure about. He's the one who just like recently married, what's her name, Sophie Turner. But yeah, no, the three of
Yeah,
them
that
were
one.
on because they're touring again and they got a new album out. And I checked it out because, like we talked about, I think it was last week. Since growing up, I've gotten over being, hating on some of these, boy bands and stuff like that because obviously I hated on them when I was younger because I was just jealous.
Dare you? You love them.
Well, no,
Backstreet
like
Boys.
you know what I mean. Well, no, Backstreet Boys I always have loved, but you know what I mean. Like
NSYNC.
when we were in high school, we definitely made
Yeah.
fun of Jonas Brothers a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Except for like that one song.
Yeah, that one song. I can't remember what it was either, but that's all I mean. So I
Burning
checked
Up,
it
I
out because
think
I'm
that was
trying to give them more of a chance. I don't love their music, but I also I'm not going to hate on them just because I was jealous of them when I was in high school. And
Have you heard
still
their new
super
song?
jealous. No, I haven't actually. I was
It's
just like,
super catchy.
okay, well
Do
maybe
yourself
check
a
that out.
favor and look that up. I can't
Yeah.
remember what it's called.
I will not.
Yeah, but anyways, they were on Hot Ones, and I thought they were pretty entertaining. It was nice to see. You could really tell, like, obviously they're brothers is the one thing I got from it. It was like, yeah, I have two brothers. This is how the three of us would act, like, similar to this. We'd probably be meaner to each other, though, but they were really mean to Kevin. Like, a couple times they said some stuff, and I'm like, oh, Kevin was definitely the one who broke this shit up before, and it's definitely the one who came crawling back because he needed more money, because you two have been in other shit.
Yeah, well, he quit because he like fell in love, wasn't it? Like he
Maybe.
wanted to like go start a family.
You know so much more about the Jonas Brothers than I do.
Yeah, I was the pop culture guy on the Reach team.
That's fair. That's actually very fair. You would have to know a lot about the Jonas Brothers, especially when we were in high school.
Exclusively the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's a great reasoning then. So
That's
but
why
yeah,
we got kicked out of that one because I knew too much about the Jonas Brothers. I thought I was googling it.
Is that true? I don't think that's
No,
true.
that's-
I didn't
that's
think that was
not
true. But anyways, the last thing I have written down for what I watched this week was Doom Patrol. I watched the latest episode. I don't think it was the season finale, and if it was, I'll be very disappointed with DC because it's just way too confusing to have been it's not clear enough if it was the season finale or not. So that's why I'm like, this better not be. I better have at least one more episode, but it might have been. Doom Patrol has been okay. I get why some people really love it. For me, it's just really hard to make connections with these characters because there's so many of them, and you don't spend a lot of time with, like, you're hopping around between them a lot. So I haven't made a connection with any of the characters beyond the fact that I like Brandon Fraser and the fact that he's playing a robot. Like that's as far as I've gotten so far. And James Bond is the chief. So it's like, okay, getting there, but I get why it's not like the most popular show on TV or DC universe.
I'm super pumped for Swamp Thing. That's
That one looks pretty good. It's weird though because there was some controversy around Swamp Thing because they cut 2 episodes from the season. It was originally supposed to be a 12-episode season, and then just before they finished, they're like, no, we're gonna make that 10 instead. So
Well,
they filmed the last
maybe
2
it was
episodes.
like Titans where they had like the final episode, and they're like, no, we're gonna save that for next season.
Yeah, well, from what I heard, I think it's a little bit that, a little bit of, it's one of the most expensive shows they've done just because he's such a, like, so much effects have to go into a Swamp Thing character. So I think just to save some money, and I don't think they're planning to do another season. So I think this is a one and done season. But I could be
I'm
wrong.
fine with that. 7 seasons is way too fucking much for Arrow. The Flash is like 3 seasons past its prime. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, what's going on now versus like the first 2 seasons, great. Everything in between, fuck right off.
I disagree with
like-
that completely. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but go on.
Like, things just get milked too fucking much. So if you can one and done it, why not? And
Yeah,
then
no,
have
I'll
that guy
agree with
sitting on
that.
the back burner to bring him in down the road for something else, maybe.
No, I agree with that. After watching like Good Omens being a mini series, like I like that it was because I'm like, and knowing that it's like, yep, that's done. I'll have to be on the lookout for when the second season might be coming, and like we get a complete story. So yeah, I agree. We need more of these like mini or limited series
Yeah.
runs, especially with these superheroes of like because we definitely are getting close to the whole freaking all of society getting like the superhero exhaustion. Or
I'm
comic book
fucking
exhaustion.
there, dude.
I know
Like,
you are. I'm saying the rest of the we're on the front lines of the superhero stuff, right? Like because we've been wanting it our whole life.
Yeah.
And we dove head first.
But now
into
that
it.
they're giving it to me, I'm like,
You're
just
drowning
slow
a
it the
little
fuck
bit.
down.
Yeah,
Like,
you're like, I'm trying to catch up.
I wanted
It's
to
too
be
much.
40 and excited about something. I wanted to be like 40 and find out that there was a new Batman movie coming out and being like, babe, I want you to take me there for my birthday party.
Yeah,
and then
now
her being
it's-
like, you're fucking 40, Andrew. What are you doing? And then me being like, Kendra, please stop talking to me like that. And then her being like, you're not Eric Cartman. Shut the fuck up.
But
And then me having to go alone. But ma'am. But now that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's
It
similar
might
with like
still
Star
happen.
Wars.
No, it won't. Because I don't want to see Batman when I'm 40.
That's not true.
That's not true at all.
Wanna be a
But
magician when
You're gonna be seeing Batman your entire life. He is inked onto your skin,
in multiple places,
multiple places. You can't avoid it.
I can't. Even Robert Pattinson, I'll fucking be there.
Yep.
That skinny looking fuck.
I still feel complimented that you said that the guy who's playing Batman could play me. So that's gonna get me through a couple weeks for sure.
If you shaved your beard, it's because you're skinny and you've got the same dimples.
the generic white boy dimples.
Yeah.
No, I got it. What else? Wait, whose list were we on? Did I just finish my list?
Yours.
You're doing your
I'm
list.
done my list then. Yeah, that's why I was confused because I'm like, that was my last one, and we got sidetracked. That's why. So yeah, I'm done my list. Who wants to go next?
Craig, you go.
All right. Where do I want to start? Let's do this in reverse chronological
shit.
order then. So, I watched some more Trailer Park Boys,
Nice.
obviously.
What are you on, like the second season by now?
I am on the second season. I'm on the third or fourth episode of the second season. Thank you.
Nice.
I watched one episode of the new Brooklyn Nine-Nine season.
Oh, I forgot that got added. I'm so far behind on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
One episode was enough for me to be able to tell the difference
Oh, between networks.
between networks. However, it was still good.
Well, that's good.
I
That's
just
good.
need to get back into the swing of it. That's all.
Yeah, that's why I'm so
Um,
far behind on it. Is like I got out of the swing because it was like, not on Netflix for a small chunk, I think, right? And then it got all added back. And I got
can't
lost
remember.
in that one. But
I can't
anyways,
remember. Either
Go
way,
on.
I've seen all of the episodes. I just gotta remember what happened. Sam and I started this mini series When They See Us. Have either of you guys heard of that?
I've heard of that.
Heard
I
of
heard
it.
it's really
Haven't
good.
watched it.
It is fantastic. It's about the Central Park Five, and it has taken a different turn on me. We're not finished it yet. We got about 40 minutes left because the last episode's an hour and 45.
Ooh.
That's not an episode.
That's a fucking movie.
That's a movie.
That's how long the Game of Thrones finale should have been.
Just so we're clear. When your episodes are an hour plus, that's not a TV show anymore. You've made a series of films. Please stop it, Peter Jackson. But so like the first two episodes, because it's 4, I believe. The first 2 episodes focuses on their trial, but the way that it paces and the way it feels, it's like a legal thing, and that's like the way the entire thing feels. There's not a whole lot of fleshing out of anything else. And then you get to and you're like, man, this is kind of moving fast but moving slow. Like, what's gonna happen at the? Because you know the answer already, or most people know the answer going into it already. And
Maybe 2 out of 3, I would say.
they ended up in prison.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
Well, you said the Central Park 5. I'm like, are they artists?
No, they're not. They
No,
are
they
not.
were.
They are 5 juvenile men. 5, mostly black. I think one of them is mixed race. From Harlem, who happened to be in Central Park the night a jogger, who happened to be a very rich white woman, was beaten and raped.
And they were
in
falsely
Central
accused?
Park, and they were accused and coerced into into making confessions
Oh,
under
wow.
duress. All of them under 18 years old. So they were held detained and questioned over hours and kept without food and water and all this stuff just to get answers out of them. And then they were tried, and all of them were found guilty. And this documentary kind of scoops under and sees what the DA was trying to do, because they just needed to accuse somebody, and none of their evidence worked. So that's the whole point of the first half of the movie. Then the second half of the movie is their prison stints.
Okay.
And it's pretty that part's really good too. The half of the series, sorry.
It's a movie.
Yeah, it's a long ass movie. The whole
Series of movies.
The whole fourth episode so far has been about one guy who had it the worst. He went to maximum security. The other ones all ended up in juvenile detention, but he ended up in maximum security. He was on Rikers Island for a bit.
Wow.
And so it just follows what happened to him.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds
Kinda.
like an interesting one.
It's really well done. There's a couple recognizable people in it that I can't remember right now. But just watch it. Just watch it.
That one I
Just do
actually
it.
might check out, because that one sounds a little bit more like up
They
my
talk
alley a little bit.
They talk about one of the more messed up parts of the entire thing, which actually ties into modern day. Besides the fact that the DA who was responsible for it was an author, and she was named as some magazine's Woman of the Year at one point.
Oh, wow.
Even though she was responsible for really stretching to get these guys put in prison. So all of her stuff, like she's an author and she got boycotted and all this stuff, and the magazine that gave her that boycotted her, or the people boycotted the magazine, all that stuff. But it revealed something that kind of got forgotten by a lot of people. And it was something I didn't know, was at the time, Donald Trump, who was a real estate mogul in the city, took out a full-page ad in a newspaper calling for the death penalty for those 5 kids.
Oh, fuck.
Very specifically. It's
Yeah,
not
sounds like
legal.
something he'd do.
It's not legal in New York State, but that was his thing. So that has come to light recently.
Oh. Because of this documentary?
Well, because the series came out, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure there were some people that remembered it, but I didn't know it, and a lot of people. I mean, it happened in late 80s.
Oh, okay.
It's 89, I think.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better about not knowing
No,
exactly
it's
who they
before.
were.
It's before our time. I had heard of it,
Mhm.
but that's like I didn't know any of these details.
The story afterwards had sounded familiar. Just the name of the Central Park 5, that was the one that didn't ring a bell.
Yeah. So we're almost done that. Then we've watched a lot of Shark Tank, as usual. I think I've already talked a lot about Shark Tank.
We talked about Shark Tank so much last week.
My opinion is still the same. It's not as good of a show.
As
They're also a lot more lenient too. Like that's something I noticed this week. I don't know if I mentioned it last week. Is that on Dragon's Den, if you get an offer and then you start to try to negotiate with somebody else, they'll just pull their offer.
Yeah.
But on Shark Tank, they leave it on the table and badger you. Like, why aren't you talking to me? Why are you talking to them?
Yeah, it's a lot more
Where-
open-ended with the...
Yeah.
They're a little less, like, taking it personally / putting stakes into it. Like, that's the
Yeah.
big thing. Like, when you're just leaving the thing open, there's less stakes to them. Like, oh, who are you going to pick? It's like, well, you got all these options, so...
Yeah,
It's like,
the
oh, you
other
might
thing
lose one.
I noticed for sure is that on Dragon's Den, there's a lot of dragons going together if they like a deal,
Mhm.
and they like the person that they're going to a deal with. So everybody matches up at some point with everybody else.
Yeah.
But on Shark Tank, they'll be like, I like that deal. I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but I'm gonna take a percentage point off.
Yeah,
It's like rather than you could have just teamed up. Like this would have solved
Yeah,
so many problems.
they almost never team up. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's weird. Yeah, it's not as good.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not going to talk so much about that.
Yeah, not
we
exact-
talked about that comedian. What is her name? Why
Ali
can't I
Wong?
remember? That's the one. I watched her movie.
I've been meaning to check that one out.
Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah,
Yes,
with Keanu
it's-
Reeves playing himself.
Yes, and he's doesn't. It's not. It's not Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, no,
It
not
is-
really. But
It is him, but the character is not the same at all.
Yeah, but that's
a funny
what I love
character,
when
though.
actors do that like fun thing with like playing themselves in a movie though. Like they're like, oh yeah, I'm so Hollywood. Like I have
Yeah.
these fake glasses without lenses in them.
It's it was a good movie. I liked it. I thought it was funny. I don't really like her so much, but I don't like her stand up as an
Yeah,
actor,
she's easy on the eyes, but I don't find her that funny.
I didn't even really think about that so much as like she's better in something.
It's better at like
Yeah.
in a role as opposed to just watching her stand up.
Yes,
You
I don't
prefer.
even think I don't think she wrote the movie at all either. It was her co-star that did.
Oh, I forget his name. I really enjoy him though. Like
Yeah,
he's
he
really
was
good.
He was the one that was in
Kim Jong Un.
Yes,
Is that the guy we're talking about?
I think so. He was the one that was with Sarah Silverman, or no, not Sarah Silverman. Is that Sarah Silverman in that bit on the
Yeah.
Big Sexy Valentine's Day special?
Yeah.
It was the with the key change.
Yeah.
Was that Sarah Silverman or was that Maya Rudolph?
Yes, you're thinking Maya Rudolph for the key
That's the one
change.
I was thinking.
They're the ones who sing the super creepy song about like pubes.
Yes, that's the one. I can't. I was mixing them up. They're the same in my head.
Ugh, his name is Randall Park.
That's
Randall
the one.
Park. Yes.
He's
He was
also from Fresh Off the Boat.
I think
That
he
show.
was in one of the Marvel movies potentially, unless I'm getting him mixed up with somebody.
Probably, but it's a good movie. I liked it.
He's in Aquaman. He plays the
Oh, maybe that's what.
guy obsessed with Atlantis, who rescues Black Manta at the end.
Okay, that's who. And he was in Ant-Man. Yeah, no, he was the in Ant-Man and the Wasp. He was the one that was looking after.
Yes, he's the
FBI
agent. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I wasn't 100% sure at first, but that's why I was like, I think he's
You
in a
wanna love
Marvel
magic.
movie. Yeah, no, I like him. I like his his type of humor that he's
Yes.
usually like his,
Very straight delivery.
yeah, exactly.
The last thing that I watched, last thing on my list, chronological order, Bend It Like Beckham. I had not seen that film until last week.
I still haven't.
You've
nor will I
changed, man.
ever.
What do you mean I've changed?
You've
I actually
changed,
enjoyed
man.
that.
Why?
Why not?
'Cause it's about soccer.
So,
Yeah, I went there. Soccer sucks.
Yes. Preach, brother.
It's not really about soccer.
Soccer's always just been super boring to me, and how much everybody loves it, I'm so over.
So you should watch the movie that's coming out about I can't remember what it's called. It's about Bruce Springsteen's music. Have you seen a preview for that, or am I the only one?
Oh,
who
I've heard
goes
about
to
that.
films?
Yes,
Yeah, it's basically the same movie, except rather than using soccer as the cultural change element, they set it back in the 70s and 80s and used Bruce Springsteen's music as the cultural change element
Okay.
and changed some genders around. I'm gonna watch that too, and I'll probably like it.
That's fair. No, I can admit I've only never watched it, nor will I watch it because it's soccer.
It never occurred to me to watch it.
Yeah, well, I remember because I think this came out during our lifetime, like around when we were
I
in high
believe
school.
so.
And so I vaguely remember because I was like, the name sticks out pretty like a
2002. I was gonna say it looks like an early 2000s film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and I would have been fairly young when that came out, so maybe it was just I saw it on Netflix and stuff like that, like back in the day. I remember being aware of it and not avoiding it, but just not seeking it out. Again, soccer sucks.
Say it one more time.
Soccer sucks.
There we go.
That is fair. That's all I got. That's everything I watched.
Andrew, what'd you watch this week?
I watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Is that your whole list?
That's my whole list.
You did say it was short.
Yep, I watched one thing this week.
So you didn't even get to Bad Blood?
Nope, didn't have time.
Damn.
Couldn't even make time. It was a decent season. I don't like that they've changed quite a few things.
Right? It's noticeable.
Is it like sets and
They,
stuff?
Yeah, they swear. Like they'll open. Like there's one bit where Rosa her hands are fucked up. Like she gets like poison ivy or poison oak or something like that on it, and she has bandages on her hands, so she can't use anything.
Yeah.
And she gets locked in a supply closet.
Typical
So then
sitcom
Amy's like, you
situation.
can't spell independent without dependent or something like that. And Rose is like, well, you can't spell go fuck yourself without fuck you, which is a funny ass line, but they beep it out,
Yeah.
and it's not something that was on previous seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Well,
And now every single episode allows it
Even
because
in the,
that's what they do.
even in the first episode, you reminded me, but I noticed it for sure. Amy says
Every
this-
episode.
Yeah, Amy says something, and Jake's like, "I thought you meant," and I was like,
Oh yeah,
we
I thought you meant this bitch needs a cock in her ass.
We used to just leave these things as innuendos, guys. Like that
Yeah,
was the whole
we used
point
to
of the
double
show.
entendre the shit out of it.
Was-
Now it's just nope.
Like we all know what
Jake
meant
thought
by
he
that.
you
thought she
thought.
meant.
We all know what you thought. You could have just left it hanging. You didn't need to tell me.
There's another episode. I forget what it is, but it's Rosa and Amy, and they're both saying, they're like, "Man, that is fucked." Oh yeah, it is fucked. And I was like, "That's not how you guys used to talk. You used to use super cute little replacement terms." And I liked the season. Don't get me wrong, but it was definitely different.
Yes.
That sounds like sounds like before they were, having to be a little more creative to get around those things.
Yeah.
So now they don't have to, and it's
Was it
They're just-
NBC now? They're like,
NBC
go
doesn't
nuts.
Have standards.
I was gonna pull out the studio thing. I haven't been following it as much as you guys, so I probably wouldn't even notice that if I did. But
One thing I did notice as well is a couple episodes in, Gina decides to leave the series. Like she's gonna pop back in here and there as a character, but they decided to cut her. And after she's gone, the show doesn't miss a beat. You thought she was this integral part of the show, and it turns out she was just there, and she was kind of a bitch. Like, she was a bitch, everyone knew this, but, like, she sucked. They bring her back for one episode, and I'm like, man, I didn't miss you. I fucking hate you. And I don't know if they just played up to, like, all her worst parts, just so that, like, you didn't miss the character. But, she just sucked. I just kept picturing her character on Kroll's show and being like, that's her. That's who she is. This is Chelsea Peretti.
The Chelsea Peretti stand-up is very different from her
Yeah.
Kroll show bits. That's the weird thing, is that anytime you see her outside of her stand-up, she is the same character, but then she does her stand-up, and you're like, so you have been acting the entire time, or you're acting now.
If I'm being truthful and saying things from, like, my real heart, that was awesome, Ma. But just fuck Chelsea Peretti's characters.
Yeah.
Characters.
I like Chelsea.
But that's it. That's all I got.
Damn.
I guess that brings us to the end then.
That's a short one this week, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Join us next week when we talk about
Stuff and
Yeah.
words.
Chelsea Peretti's career. We do an actor episode on Chelsea Peretti. That'll be long.
Or we'll do something else. That Scott knows
Truthfully,
about.
finding it very hard to do research on the character.
We just watch a bunch of Kroll show, problem solved.
Yeah. I could do that. If I had time.
It doesn't sound like a bad life.
It doesn't. It sounds pretty dope. And I don't like to throw around the term dope.
Anyway. Talk to
Well,
you
this has
next
been a
week,
dope
guys.
ending.
Absolutely. Try not to chase the dragon, guys. Bye.
Bye.